Party going?
Party started. It is,
You guys
What's that, Dave?
live? All right, just, they're listening to you say we're going live right now, just say that one more time, they'll know.
okay, we're going live right now. And welcome to the Wednesday, May 16th Planning Board meeting. As a reminder, this meeting is on video and audio recorded for posterity. And please all rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. First item on the agenda is a special permit for Cuba Libre Realty Trust, 0 Elm Street, map 24, lot 37. And here's the notice of public hearing. The Dayton Planning Board, Town Hall lower level, notice of public hearing, May 16th, 2018 at 6 p.m. Notice hereby given that the Planning Board will conduct a public hearing on the special permit application by Cuba Libre Realty Trust for approval of the creation of a retreat lot located at 0 Elm Street, being shown as Assessor's Map 24, Lot 37, pursuant to sections 5090 and 5300 of the Town of Dayton zoning bylaws. All interested parties should attend the hearing. Copies of the plan are available for inspection in the planning office and the Selectmen's Meeting Room, 979 Somerset Ave, Dayton, Mass, during normal business hours, Dayton Planning Board, etc. So, is the,
We're all set with the
Yeah, I'm Steve Gilbert.
advertising fee.
oh,
Steve Gilbert from SFG Engineering, on the other side of the board. Representing Steve Domenico is the trustee for Cuba Libre. We're proposing a retreat lot on Elm Street. The lot has frontage on Elm and County Street. We're proposing coming off Elm Street with 61.83 of frontage. We've got a almost 12.7 acre parcel with 6.8 acres of upland, so that meets all your requirements. We're proposing a 485-foot long driveway with a hammerhead turnaround at the end for emergency purposes. We'll meet all setback requirements with the dwelling, the proposed dwelling. It'll have its own private septic system and will have its own private well. I believe we meet all the requirements by quite substantially, to be honest with you. This is already a separate lot. We're not cutting this lot off anything. This is the trust owns this lot as a separate piece, so we're not cutting out a piece of it.
so why isn't this as of right? Because it has the frontage on County Street.
Because they're renting it off here. A lot of the towns won't let you, if you're coming off of here, they want you to use that frontage. You could do that and try to put a house down here, but it's very wet and it's not
Mhm.
really a desirable spot, to be honest with you.
Yeah, County Street is
No.
not as.
Generally, when they have the drive come off the road, they generally want you to use that as the frontage. Seeing as we have
Okay.
lack of frontage, we're going for the retreat lot.
Steve, do you know what the radius of this turn here is?
Off the top of my head, no, but we can make it anything. We can make it as.
Yeah, the fire chief had some issues
Yeah.
with the radius.
Oh, we can,
Wanted
that's.
to know what the radiuses were up here for turnaround.
Oh, yeah, we can do that without a problem. We can make this sweeping, we can do it, we've own all this land, so we can make it a real sweeping turn if he requires that, if he wants more, it's not a problem.
Are we going first before the public?
Hmm?
Can we ask questions first before the public, or
Yeah.
who goes first?
Yeah, we should all ask the questions, then we'll ask the public the questions, their input.
Why is the house going over here behind the other houses instead of over here, perhaps?
I believe that was where you wanted the house, I'm assuming?
No, I think, he said he would just locate a house in the middle of the lot for right now, and then, determine later on, when we do an as-built where the house would be. The lot has already been perked, so there are 2 perks on the land. One of them is all the way to would be the south side, and then the other one is basically in the panhandle part of the north side towards the bottom. So that's a consideration as far as how far away from those perks, you're allowed to be according to a septic design.
Yeah, this area here is all wooded, I believe, up to approximately right here.
Might be even, might be
more or
even more
less.
towards the driveway, maybe even more towards here, but, you know, more or less, you're right, yeah.
Okay. And as far as the driveway goes, you're gonna have to show 20 feet
20
going
feet.
in.
Yeah, the
20 foot
requirement is
wide?
12
Yeah.
foot,
Not a
20 foot
problem,
wide.
not a problem.
It doesn't have to be 20 feet paved,
Right,
but it has to be 20 feet according to the state fire regs.
okay,
So you can have stone or, what do you,
Even grass.
grass, yes. So long as it's showing a 20, cause you're going through woods, I didn't know, I thought this was all open property.
no, it's all, that's what you are.
Yeah, you're gonna have to show 20 feet coming
Yep.
in.
We've got plenty of room, so that's not a problem.
Now, the other perk, was it over here, or, do you know where it was?
I know
Yeah.
some perks were in this area, and,
Yeah, so coming in, there's a perk right here, and then
Okay.
the other perk is over here.
You're required to have 4
yeah,
perks now.
there's several holes here, though, I don't know how many, we didn't perk it, another firm perked it, but we
Oh, okay.
located several holes. Whether or not they
When I
need,
have the perk informations, it was sufficient when I,
yeah.
How long
went to
ago
zoning.
was it?
How long were the perks done?
How long ago, do you know?
I'd have to look that up. I have the paperwork here.
Yeah, that's it. We didn't perk, it was perked prior. But if Board of Health requires more perks, then that's what we'll have to do. I see one result from 2001.
Yeah, this is the perk information here. 11/23/01.
Yeah,
Okay.
looks like 01.
Okay.
So it was up to the new Title V standards anyways, but if the Board of Health requires more tests, we'll do more tests.
Yeah, we're at 4 now, you know that.
Yeah.
It's 4 perk holes, but, it all depends on the Board of Health, whether they're gonna want
Did
to
you-
let you grandfather it, or
Yeah.
make
That was
it-
my understanding, it would be grandfathered.
make
They
it
generally
the-
require, you do, dig 4 holes, do perks in 2 of the holes,
Right.
you know, and observe,
Right.
observe the soils from all 4.
Now, is there any chance, you got a hole over, you got a test over here, and I believe this one's a new house,
No, the new house is here.
okay,
But there are 2 houses, yeah.
Yeah, there's
is this the older home right here?
Yes, that's the
yeah,
older home,
yeah.
exactly.
So there's 2 houses on those lots, this
Okay.
is the new one.
So this is the new house right
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
Right,
And what's here now, is there a house there?
Yes.
So no matter how you get around it, unless you put it over here, you're gonna be behind a house, right?
Right.
yeah, yeah, I mean, there's plenty, I mean, this is a long piece of land here, so.
Is this all wooded?
Brought up to here somewhere, I think.
More or less, and all behind there is all wooded, yes.
Yeah.
From the neighbor's sake, having a house in this area would be better, although that doesn't really have a bearing on.
Hmm?
What's the question?
Well, you know, I'm just wondering, these people here have a river view, and I'm not sure this house does, but I know this one probably does.
Yeah, the
This
view,
one
the
and this
view
one.
is basically through here
Yeah, more or
in the
less.
winter.
So I don't know, I'm just talking, I'm thinking of, you know, someone's right to look at have their property, for their own enjoyment
Yeah.
without having a house behind them. That's basically what I'm thinking of.
No, I understand.
The lot, I'm just trying to help some, you know, wondering, can this be relocated or,
Excuse me, I just walked in.
okay,
I think I own a piece of the property, the new house.
that's your house?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We're gonna be, the chairman will be asking for input from the, residents,
Okay. Are
the
there any-
abutters next, so,
Okay.
and you can, whatever you have to say.
Are there any drawings or anything that I could take a look at?
Yeah, right, this is it, yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, I mean, the lot itself, it's a legitimate lot. I'm-
Yeah, no,
I'm
I
just
think the
trying to-
house, where the house goes is really open. If the house could be, if it was me, I would put the house here so I could see the river.
Well, I would too, I'd put it over here
Yeah.
somewhere. This
But,
is your land, right?
Right, exactly.
Well, that's
And
what I.
there's, yeah, and there's plenty of, you know, buffer between a house and a house up here.
And the houses in front are up higher also. The grade is higher, you can see the grade's higher,
Right.
it builds up, so this is higher, I'm pretty sure be able to see over whatever was built there, I would think.
Yeah, it goes downhill.
Right,
Just a thought, I'm
Yeah.
thinking of, you can put it where you want.
No,
But-
the topography of the land, the perk that's here, if you put a house below that, you're probably gonna have to either build the house pretty high up or do a pump system to get to the area where you would perk it.
Okay.
This is more flat here, so it'd be easier to do a, you know, a
And there's a
septic.
good neighbor over here, right?
Right now there is.
All right.
So,
Yeah, Kerry, just to let Steve know what the chief was looking for, as far as what we need to show on these plans.
So he mentioned that, the 25-foot radius on each side, so he was okay with that, but he wanted to make sure that 20 feet on each side was cleared from vegetation, which he already
Yeah,
brought that to
we're
your
we're
attention.
talking that road.
Alright, then he, needs to know the radius of the curve of that driveway, cause he wants to make sure that the truck can make the swing
Yep.
around
We're
on
talking
that.
right here, right?
right.
Yes, that
Okay.
curve. And then he also mentioned that he needs to double check, with the NFPA on the standard, because he was concerned, he wasn't sure if there was a minimum distance from the proposed driveway to the actual house.
That's fine, we can just back that off, that's fine too.
So he mentioned that he was gonna send me an email, but he
Okay.
must have gotten tied up
If you want, we
on
can touch
that.
base with him and cover everything he wants, if that's easier, that's fine.
That'd be the
Yeah,
best
fine.
thing to do.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy, the new
Yeah.
fire chief, easy to
Yeah.
work with.
So he,
Yeah, we'll do that.
yep,
I mean, we've got plenty of land to make it any way he wants, so it's not a problem.
okay. And that was really, that was about it
Okay.
for his concerns.
That's all I wanted to ask and find out.
Any comments from the public?
Yes, can I start?
Please, your name and address, please.
Neil LaFrance, and I'm 2925 Elm Street. I'm one of the properties in front. I can show you that on the map there.
Mhm.
That's me, right, yeah. I kind of just wanted to ask questions about what are the zoning requirements for distance between a proposed house and somebody else's boundary?
There are setback requirements,
Okay,
but they're off the top of my head, I can't say.
35 feet.
35 feet,
okay, all right.
which would be quite
To
close.
the property line, not to the house. So basically, it'll be 70 feet at minimum. So it's 35 and 35. for-
Oh, okay, all right, and what is, Steve, are you building this house or are you selling this lot?
it's undecided what's gonna happen.
All right, so we can assume that it's probably gonna be sold then, and would, if the board approves this plan, would any future owner be required to put it here or further away, or can they do anything they want?
As long as they meet the setbacks, I would imagine that they can put it anywhere they want.
All right. This
Yeah.
is, I'm sorry.
You raise a good question, that a lot of these retreat lots are designed so that you don't have a subdivision behind you,
Correct.
which is a good thing. But on the other hand, having a house behind you that might not otherwise be there is not the best thing. So perhaps we need to revisit the idea of setbacks or retreat lots.
My argument is that this is not a retreat lot. A retreat lot to me would be something that is cut off here. There's no, the only entrance would be, this little area here. This is a legitimate lot with frontage right here, what they got, 500 feet?
Well, to your question, they could draw a line here,
Yep.
8 acres here, Form A lot here, and they end up with just what you're describing, only
Right.
with 2 lots. So it wouldn't be outside the realm of possibilities that they would end up with 2 lots. Now,
Yeah.
if this is approved as a retreat lot, no further subdivision is allowed.
Right.
So perhaps
Well,
the,
the damage is done if it's right on your
well,
backyard.
right, but my point is that you're saying that this is a legitimate lot with this frontage,
Correct.
but in reality, it could be a legitimate 2 lots.
Mhm. In principle, I don't have a problem with somebody building back here. It's just the proximity
Mhm.
to my property, how it would, impact the value of mine. I don't think there's a problem having a driveway there, and this is pretty wooded, but, if a developer comes in and says, hey, we're just gonna knock all the trees down, and then you have a big white vinyl fence between you and the lot back there, it's really not very pleasant. This poor guy over here, Mr. Gabriel, this is all clear. He has, his backyard is grass right up to this line, and he's gonna be staring at this guy's house, off his backyard, if it's there. If it were back here, I don't think any of the neighbors would complain.
Where are you talking about if it were back where?
Well, I'm saying if it was back further.
Further to the
Like
east.
here,
Oh, yeah.
here
yeah.
or here, I don't think
That's what I
anybody
was-
would complain, because there's plenty of trees there.
Yeah, if it were 100 feet or
Yeah.
200 feet or 300, this is such a long lot. You could draw the 100-foot buffer zone line and bump the house up against it, and all of a sudden, all of the issues of the neighbors go away.
Right.
And you end up with a nicer lot because you're further back, and a retreat lot is actually retreat because it's out in the woods.
With
So
the
I'm-
exception, if I may, that the lot tapers down. If the perks are up high, then that means they may end up having to put a pumping system, which is not.
Well, that was
Well,
the
we're
issue.
we're at
the-
the highest point.
Exactly.
We had to get down 400 feet. to get
Exactly,
water.
but what you're requiring is that they place the house at a much lower
Right.
lower point. But if the perk is up high, that means that they would have to do a help me here.
Raised
Steve.
bed?
No.
Yeah.
Raised
Mound-
system.
mound system.
Raised
Yeah.
system, and that's not,
Well, they said it perked over here, Joe. Somewhere in this area.
Yeah, there's no contour
Right, but
lines
this
except for
tapers
the
down this way.
66,
Yeah, no.
62. So if the perk is at 62 and there's no line here, so if it were at 60, then you'd have to build a house up high or have a pump.
Well, I understand that it's more costly to pump uphill and everything, but, I
Mhm.
mean, it shouldn't, to save one builder's owner's money,
Oh, I
cost
understand.
itself
I have a
shouldn't
pump up
impact
system
somebody else.
myself.
Yeah, you do?
Mhm.
I think that was when we first came up in front of the board, I don't know, 25 years ago or so, when we first bought the land, they wanted to combine lots somehow, and then put it over here so they wouldn't have to pump uphill. And I think that's probably the same concern now, is financial, that, we have to put it as close to Elm Street over here as possible. And that may be if Mr. Domingo sells the property to a new builder, they're gonna be looking to build it as cheaply as possible as well.
I don't think the finance is the issue here. I think gravity is much better than pumping, depending on the power.
All right,
To pump the system. That's my view of it.
okay.
If anybody has a choice of having a gravity-fed system versus one that you have to depend on power to pump it upwards, I think the answer is there.
Well, then if it's gravity, then it has to be closer uphill, right?
That's,
Well, and that's
the-
where it impacts the neighbors.
and that's what I think, I don't think we here can say much about it. I
Yeah, that's
think-
really
Where they
not our-
locate the house? No.
It's not our
Yeah,
purview.
so I
Here
think,
is,
I
does
think
it-
that
does
should
it
be
meet the
something that should be
standards?
between the neighbors, on, you guys working something out on that, because I don't think it is our place to actually tell them where they're gonna be placing the house.
Well, that's dependent on the restrictions, the line, boundary lines.
They meet all the criteria on that.
But you were saying that you may have to re-look at that to see if the boundary lines maybe need to be modified.
I don't think.
This meets,
Some of the radiuses on
Referring to
the
the setbacks.
driveway in the
Take
turnaround area.
one second, look at the setbacks in the future.
Because right now, it's what, 35 feet from the
35.
property
Can
line?
I just make a comment? I believe it's 15 feet, not 35.
yeah,
It's
15
feet
side setback.
Right.
Okay, I'm,
Sidelines, Joe, with this.
Well, I can't imagine a person wanting to put the house 15 feet behind another house anyway, either.
Yeah, that doesn't really, you know, I mean, I think you're creating the worst circumstance here. There's 5 or 6 acres of land there. If you're gonna buy this piece of property, then probably where it would be the most secluded and accommodate the perk, or they might go in there and try to perk somewhere else, get another perk and build a house.
Well, again, if the perk is on I only have the boundaries that, the topography that's shown. If the perk is on the 62 line, and the house removed to the 62 line, and you could easily create a septic system where it would flow downhill. Again, I'm just making
That
it
whole
up because I
property
don't see
goes
something, see
downhill.
it,
You,
but.
you can't put the house, and correct me if I'm wrong. The house, I believe there's gotta be 125 feet between this boundary and this boundary to locate a house. And so the perk is down here.
I thought you said there was one here too.
There is one there, yeah. I mean, that's right.
Is it right here, or is it
It's,
64?
well, if this is the boundary line, it's probably somewhere in this
It's
vicinity.
real
here.
close, it's real close.
You said what, 125 feet? I missed that.
My understanding is to build a house, you have to have a minimum of 125 feet between, the boundary lines.
Well, you have to have 100-foot square, 100 by 100.
Oh, maybe it's 100 feet.
100 by 100.
Okay.
Also outside of the setbacks. So if the setbacks are 15, you've gotta
Okay.
have 130 feet.
Yeah, so,
So you're close.
so this distance here is approximately 125 feet, maybe, it might be 130. It's not shown on the map, but I know I've measured it, but it's not on this map, but, as far as I'm concerned, I think we've met all the requirements for the retreat lot.
Mhm.
And there's really, you know, unless you have a question as far as what the retreat lot states.
Yes, you're right.
You know what I mean?
Our purview does not include where the house goes, does not include
Right.
where the septic system goes, it doesn't include even setbacks. It just includes, does it meet the zoning bylaw?
Right.
And from what I can see, it does.
Are you
Would
looking to
if
sell
there's a-
the old lot?
What's that?
We own the lot, yes.
This-
You're looking to sell?
My argument is this is
We're not sure what we're doing with the house.
retreat lot.
Basically, I don't know if you know
It has
are you
to
Chris's
be.
dad?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so basically what the story with this is we went to the zoning to get a variance to put a driveway through to build a house.
Right.
And the hardship was the wetlands, because there's so much wetlands down here that even, and I have a letter from the commissioner, said they would never allow us to replicate, to put a driveway all from there all the way up to here to
Right.
build a house.
Right.
So, zoning basically denied my application, and I filed for an appeal, and my attorney talked to town council and said, why don't you try to go this way, Steve, because this is gonna avoid a court case, and my attorney's opinion is, you know, we have a pretty good chance of winning in court, so if we can do it this way, it eliminates the town going to court, but,
I don't think our retreat lot bylaw says that it can't abut another street. It doesn't say only in the case of not being able to be in a Form A lot or whatever, so in that case, I think
Well, if you're not the board that approves where a house is located or how a driveway goes, then this drawing is basically meaningless for this meeting, isn't it?
For the most, well, no, because the bylaw does describe driveways, widths,
Okay.
and where it is, but it does not specifically say where a house can go.
You're right, though. I mean, the house could be anywhere on the lot.
Right,
Here,
exactly.
here,
Right.
here, here.
And that's
But
that's
as
kind
long
of
as
up
the
to whoever
driveway.
buys a lot from you.
Which is why we are discussing the fire chief's
Right.
concerns about that curve.
Exactly, yeah.
That is a reasonable discussion, but that's not a reason to deny this retreat lot.
Yeah, my concern is, I have no problem at all, I mean, you have an abutting
property to where the driveway is gonna go.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me as well.
My concern is, you know, if the house is located right behind our house.
No, I understand that. And I'll be
But-
honest with you, I think that's assuming the worst case, and I don't think.
Exactly,
And I
yeah.
don't think that's gonna happen. I mean, it wouldn't make any sense for me, but I can't control, I mean, I could end up buying that land and building a house there.
Right.
One of my kids could end up building a house. We're doing this because because it was agreed upon by town council and my attorney.
Right.
And his opinion was, you can put the house anywhere you want, Steve, as long as you require, you meet the requirements. I mean, these two houses are probably as close as any house that's gonna be back here. So, and it is all wooded, so it wouldn't make sense for me to have somebody put a house there, so it would be right up against, 30, whatever the setback is from the frontage, right up against there. And even if the house was located in the middle, I've been back there, there's quite a distance between these two houses and just this location.
Well, the woods,
And there's a whole other field back here. that
Yeah.
used to-
but there are woods here along this line,
Yeah.
and you own those? The
Yeah,
woods?
yeah, it's the whole, yeah, we own everything back here.
Okay. Yeah, for the sake of discussion now, I mean, really, that house, we don't know where the house would go
Right.
if somebody bought the lot, so. it's-
And I don't think someone would cut all that wood down just to put a house in back of their house.
To be
you know?
looking at your backyard, the back of your house.
So we have-
You'd-
we have
You'd have to
We have woods between our properties, and that's,
Right here.
we're probably gonna
Yeah.
just leave
So
that
do you have
alone.
any wood, are you grass right to your
He
rear
is.
lot line?
I am, yeah.
I got about 6 feet of, before I get some trees and then there's lines, so. But there's plenty of woods back here.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why I don't object to this, but, if a builder comes in and he takes down the trees for one reason or another, and I'm sure the engineer put this house over here because it's probably the most efficient place to put a house.
Right.
Then I would think that, whoever buys this property and builds something will say, oh yeah, that's probably a good place to put it, and that's gonna impact,
Both of
Mr.
us.
Gabriel and I.
Well, I think, really, to be honest, I think Chris enjoys looking at the water, and I think you've expressed the fact that you'd like to be able to look at the water.
Right.
So it wouldn't make any sense for me somebody to buy this land, put a house here or here, when they could put a house here, have privacy, and look at the water.
If, I were to build a house, Steve,
Yeah.
that's where I put it, right here.
Right.
Even
So,
if I
mean,
had
that-
to-
that's just
Even
makes
if I had to have a
complete
pump,
sense.
there's a
Right.
lot more value in the location than where we have a pump, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's enough land where, you can dig as many holes as you want in order to get another perk, and I know today it's, regulations or the systems are a lot more amenable to different kinds of soils, so I think anything's possible with the land. as far as where the
This is
house
in the water.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
If this is approved as a retreat lot, and the property is sold, is there any restrictions on the new owner about where he's gonna put that? I mean, will there be another
No.
meeting about?
The only
So he could put it
restrictions
anywhere he
are
wanted,
put it
within.
where he wants. The restrictions are that it can't be further subdivided.
Always.
In fact, as a developer, if I were the owner of this lot, I would want to turn it into 2 lots, just for economic reasons, but apparently this doesn't perk or something.
Well, probably not. We could have done that. I know you don't know me, but we could have done that, but if you walk this land, you'll see that it's very wet down there. This is all 100-year floodplain. Conservation has already told me they're not gonna let you do anything
Well,
with
there
that
you
land
go,
right
so-
there. You can't get in here to even dig a hole to perk because of the guardrail for the highway is there, so there's no way into the land.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have done that. I could have cut the land off and,
Well,
sold it to
Because you
somebody
only
else.
need 8 acres
Right.
for.
Right.
I just
so
figured,
you have 4 acres, but on the other hand, you got 6.8 acres dry. If all of a sudden this is cut and all this dry land is no longer available for this lot, you might not meet that requirement. I would defer to the engineer.
No, we've got plenty, you only do an acre.
Five.
Yeah, so,
We've got plenty.
but the point is that from the town's perspective, one lot of 12 acres is preferable to two lots of 3 and 9 or whatever.
Right, I mean, there also are other options which I decided not to follow, because my understanding that you can also put a family retreat back here, just put a big enough driveway and you can put a couple houses as long as you get the perks, which we decided not to do. We're just trying to get one house, because that's, you know, we live here as well, and we're not trying to throw a bunch of houses in here. If we can get a house in there, that's fine with us, you know.
Well, if this gets approved, you know, then I guess the next discussion would be with yourself or whoever you sell the property to and us to see if we can, you know, come to some sort of agreement where the location of the house goes.
We won't have any say in that.
Probably not, but
No,
I mean,
They
if you're,
approve
if
it.
you're,
It
if we're
will
gonna be
be-
neighbors.
It will be as long as it meets the requirements.
Right.
The building
Right.
inspector has no other option other than to approve it.
Steve, do you think in 2 weeks that you could get together with the fire chief and amend this plan,
Absolutely.
showing the radiuses and,
Put on whatever he wants, yep,
and the 20-foot driveway?
yep,
Okay.
no problem.
Make a motion to approve it.
Should we continue it?
That was gonna be a motion to continue
Continue it. Makes
until we
more
see
sense.
the final.
Ma'am?
Can we ask more questions?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, Tony Angus, 1374 Pine Street. What constitutes this as a retreat lot versus requesting a variance?
A retreat lot is a lot that doesn't have the frontage, but has the acreage. Now, before retreat lots were allowed in town, a variance would be required, somebody that had over 12 acres as this. If the owner applied for a variance with the zoning board of appeals and the ZBA denied it, which it has done in the past, then the only other options for the owner would be to turn it into a subdivision, which this lot of 12 acres, it would be an expensive 5-lot subdivision, but I could see where you could fit 5 buildable lots on this, just from off the top of my head. So the difference now is that before, the only option of the owner would be to develop it into multiple lots. Now it can be one lot.
Does the board have any kind of ruling as to when something has to be submitted as a variance versus a retreat lot? Or do they?
The town has rule regulations, and if a variance is requested, it is requested to the zoning board of appeals. If it, as a retreat lot, it is before the planning board, which is as of right, so that's the difference. Variances are to the ZBA, subdivision or approval such as this are before the planning board.
And I did hear that if something is okayed as a retreat lot, then the next owners after them, and the next owners after them cannot build more on it.
That is correct. According to our zoning bylaw, a retreat lot has a deed restriction. It can no longer be further subdivided, which is, again, the benefit to the town compared to a 12-lot subdivision of 5 lots is less preferable to the town than one lot with a deed restriction that can no longer further subdivide the lot.
Yeah, personally, I don't see that using 8 acres forever and ever as a retreat lot is a wise idea.
Well, it depends. The rationale for the retreat lot from the town's perspective is that 8 acres can fairly easily be subdivided into 5 buildable lots, which is, I don't know, 5 times 3 bedrooms, which is maybe 10 or 12 kids going into the schools, times however many lots in the town there are. It's expensive to subdivide a lot. You have to put in roads and curbs and
I live next to one, so I
drainage,
understand.
all that stuff. So
Yeah.
the rationale of the retreat lot is to give landowners a less expensive option to be able to do something with their lot that does not include lots of other lots.
Yeah, what I'm hearing here is though that the lot will be sold. So
That's often the case.
And when I voted for the retreat lot, I thought it was gonna be, a large parcel of land, there were only a few in the town available, that, someone who has a home there and has all this land that they cannot use to be used as a retreat lot. That was my impression. I did not know we were gonna get into this other types of discussions.
Well, it's both. It's for people that own large parcels that want to be able to build but not have to go to the expense to subdivide, but it's also people that own lots that wanna do the same but wanna sell. So, you know, it's kind of a pick your poison situation.
So the board does not have a, cut and dry line between when something can be requested as a retreat lot or when it has to be a variance?
Yes, if they fulfill the requirements of the zoning bylaw, it can be a retreat lot. If it does not meet the requirements, the owner would have to request a variance to the ZBA. So it's very specific, it's just a matter of the approach.
Like, I have 13 acres and pretty soon I have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just curious how the board is going to
Now,
do this.
what frontage do you have?
I think I have like 198 feet frontage.
So you do not have enough land frontage for more than one lot. So you could do one or two things. You could go before the zoning board of appeals, request a variance to cut the frontage in half, say 100 feet, 100 feet, or you could, three things you could do. Or you could go before this board for a retreat lot, or the third thing you could do would be to subdivide it into multiple lots. Which, how many acres?
She doesn't have sufficient frontage for a
12.9.
retreat lot and leaving her with a regular
Right,
lot.
so I would have to
Okay.
go for a variance.
So you would have to go for the
Right.
variance, yeah.
But see, this whole situation is punishing people who have quite a bit of frontage, but you're not allowed to go for a retreat lot.
It's not a matter of.
And not leaving yourself, you have to leave your lot meeting the requirements of our regulations, which on Pine Street's 175 feet frontage, and you add the 40 foot for the retreat lot, that's 215, which you don't have.
Yeah, I have it on the other side, off at the
It
driveway.
has to be continuous.
You're right,
So.
I know that. But, didn't know if we had a clear definition of what we allow as one and what we allow as the other.
Well, I think, as Tom said, 215 feet gets you both. Less than that gets you before the ZBA with a variance.
Yeah. So this is a retreat lot request.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna make a motion to continue this hearing until our next meeting, whenever that will be in June. And it'll give sufficient time to amend the plan and meet the requirements of the fire chief and so forth.
Well, you don't need to be, that's okay with you, though.
I think,
Yeah, that's
Steve, I
fine.
think it's just a matter of us making sure that everything that we're looking for is on the plan.
And we don't have a problem doing it, I just wanna be aware, it's not in the bylaw, it's not written in those radiuses, I don't believe are in there. We don't have any problem accommodating the fire chief, that's, I just wanna,
Right.
the reason it's not on there because it wasn't asked for, that's all I'm saying.
Right, I hear you.
And I know it's new, these are kinda new and we'll build up on them, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure why at this point that's even required, only because an as-built has not been done for a house to be built, so you could.
Well, you're showing a 12-foot driveway, that's number one, and it needs to be 20 or
Okay.
32. You know, so you might as well show the radiuses while you're amending it and get the fire chief what he's looking for radiuses, and then we'll get a letter from him saying everything's fine, and that's it, you know?
Okay.
Not a problem.
I don't, personally, I don't see a problem with the retreat lot itself, but we'd like to see more information on it, that,
I agree.
So that was my motion to continue until, when are we meeting in June?
We're gonna determine that. later this evening,
Part of the agenda.
part of the summer schedule.
I'll be ready for the next meeting when it is. As long as you don't take the whole summer.
What's today? How about the, what do we meet, first and third, Wednesday?
You know, in June, it's one day.
Right.
Summer
We're
hours.
going
I know, why
somewhere
don't we
else.
meet on the first Wednesday in June then?
First week of June, I'll be out of town.
Question, why can't we approve this, subject to those two?
Because I don't, well, we can vote on it, but I'm making a motion to, continue until,
That's my preference, to continue.
Yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more information as well.
I'll second that motion then.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
we'll give you, we'll let you know a date, Steve, 'cause
No problem, no problem. Just gonna wait.
you know what summer schedule is.
Oh, yeah.
Minute?
Take care.
I got a
Thank you.
question for you. Why the hell, when I was building my house, it came out to 35 feet, now I'm looking at this.
Was it, is it possible that
Yeah,
there was a
we're
different?
gonna be getting new
No, that
plans
wouldn't be
anyway.
your house, as you're saying?
I'll be,
I was
Not
just-
my house, not the house before that.
thanks a lot.
I don't think these have
I've seen
changed
them,
at all.
I've seen them increase when you're abutting a different zoning
Thanks a lot,
district, but
Thank you.
if
Yes,
you're
I
a
appreciate it. Thank
residential,
you.
it shouldn't be a problem. I don't know why it's 35.
Nothing personal.
No, that's what's bothering me, is that I knew that was
You sure it's not,
35.
you sure it's not the setback from the road?
That's 55.
Yeah, but ours is 30 from the center line.
You know, that's
No other town does. That might be it.
We should amend
I don't
that.
Road.
We didn't think
For
of that.
some reason, that was stuck in my mind at 35 feet ever since then.
It would be if you were going from like a business district to a residential, you might have to stay, but you're not doing that, you're talking all residential, so I don't think that's, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we need to set some setbacks away from houses that could
It wouldn't hurt, wouldn't hurt, you know.
be.
Take care, guys.
It was Joe's
Have a
idea.
good night.
It was Joe's idea.
Yeah, okay, yeah, now blame Joe.
They're not a bad thing.
No, I don't think it's a bad thing to retreat lots at all.
You know, we don't know if they had not put in the retreat lot, would they have put in a 40B? We don't know that.
Mm.
So we're granting retreat lots instead of
Or
40Bs.
Conservation subdivision.
Correct.
Let's not go there.
He's already submitted his 90 houses,
Oh,
more or
really?
less.
Hey.
I know.
Just trying to save your ass.
I get it. That's because you really care. Where we at? Oh, was
Ferris Lane,
Peter
I think
left.
is next.
Do I have an agenda?
How is that?
Oh, it's on the front.
You got a lot.
No, I got it.
We'll do without you.
Invite us
In
over
our
for a
weekly-
cookout.
Yeah.
Deal.
Did the drainage work?
Jim 7
It works, we just can't get it done. Now it's just a whole different problem.
I was there yesterday or the day before, and, I still don't see your lot.
Yep.
If the same amount of rain comes down the way it did before, the pipe is actually higher than the bottom of that field there.
Well, I asked about that today because I was home, and I was told that there is a 3-foot round pond that's going to be there, and that will fill up first before it goes in the hole.
Okay.
So I was a little confused on what was discussed with the engineer. And we haven't been told whether the engineer has approved everything. I don't know if your engineer knows that.
Not quite finished yet, with the head wall. I just drove by there today.
I apologize for the delay. Next item on the agenda is, our favorite Center Street Woods. Now, after the last meeting, with the developer assured me that everything would be done by this hearing and there would be no need for the owner to come before us. So tell us what you think.
It's not done.
It's not done.
So I was home today, and, he couldn't get a crew in to do any of the landscaping, so he's got Kevin doing the landscaping.
I think you guys are on, I have a couple of you guys on the emails back and forth. So he claims he couldn't get a landscape contractor on site within the next month or two. Same with
Month or
everything.
two from now?
From when the original emails took place, cause I had it, so he said, you know, probably by the end of the month he gets somebody, so I pushed the issue, I said, that's ridiculous, this is already supposed to be done back in April. So now he has his own contract, whatever you wanna call him, his own helper taking care of it, he's building the head wall, he's doing the grading. The only thing that we can't seem to get answers on is, so on the original plan, it had the, original stormwater pipe being removed, if that's in between our two lots. So my biggest concern now is that originally there was no water being introduced from front to back to the lots. Now, we have I wanna say a 2 foot or 3 foot valley between the two homes that is now introducing more water into the back of the yard, well, our yards. He assures me that he doesn't have to do anything with it, there wasn't on the plans, nothing got approved for him to touch that, just remove the pipe and fill it in.
But he can grade that and create some kind of a swale between the two properties.
To me, there should be no swale, cause the two septic tanks are on that side, it should be just graded across.
Cause now we're gonna get the runoff
That's-
from the road that
Where would the runoff from the road go otherwise?
It's
supposed to
so
go into the
road-
grates.
Ideally.
The road runoff is
okay.
not supposed to be in our yards.
Understood.
Yeah, the road runoff is not. It's
So
supposed to go
it's-
into grates.
So right now, it's gonna be the runoff from my yard, her yard, going in, converging in the center between the two lots and coming to the back.
Right, but right now, the water from their yard is going into yours.
Originally, that's not how it was. Originally, the.
Correct, that's why I'm saying that there
And
should
then the
be
water
some
from
kind
our
of.
yard is standing water from the propane tank back, and I did talk to him about that. And he assured me that they were going to put they were getting a loam delivery today, and that was gonna be loamed to go down, and everything would work out fine.
But a lot of the water is going into your yard though.
90%. My ultimate concern is that it's not gonna be, any rainstorm we see is it's gonna create streams to me. It's gonna be active water, it's not gonna be like, it's not gonna gradually leak there, it's gonna be, the last major rainstorm I went out there and it was not slow moving water, it was actually like erosion water, where it's taking sediment and grass and everything with it into the pipe, which was my concern from a while back. It's a lot of water. And I have no problem, like, I fully attest right now as it stands, I mean, we haven't seen a large rain event, but it does work. I mean, for the most part, it's just, to me, it's not fine tuned. And then he's also, separate note, he's just creating more damage every time he just ripped out my sprinkler main and he ripped out the electrical, just cracked the valve box, and now I have no irrigation. The walls, my retaining wall was hit with the excavator.
And the guy that did our irrigation will not come back to the properties, so now, if whoever
we're
does
getting-
it, it's who's gonna give us a warranty that this irrigation is proper.
So, I guess our first concern, I don't know, has GZA been out?
GZA was out on May 8th.
They were, okay.
They were.
Has there been a report generated?
There is a report, there are a number of issues.
We have not seen a report. I don't know if that's a problem, if we're not privy to that information, but
I asked about it.
Yeah, I have a copy.
I asked about it, and he told me that there was a backlog and that they wouldn't be out, but.
They being GZA?
Who's that, the
GZA
prime?
is the, no, GZA is
No,
the town.
our engineers. Whenever our engineer goes to the site and does this review, we charge the developer for this review. So it is in their interest to get it done right.
So I suggested the riprap in front of the, because like I said, it's gonna be active water, so I wanted some sort of control. He told me riprap was not, he doesn't require, the plans don't call for riprap.
My fear is that we're gonna approve this, and we're gonna be left with the problems.
Well, we're not gonna approve it until it's
Okay.
right, and,
Okay.
the,
Cause they're already putting up the rock.
the building
It's already cemented in there.
the building inspector.
Putting up the rock where?
Sidewalk.
Around the pipe.
The building inspector will not issue any building permits until we tell him to.
And my last concern, and I've voiced this to Matt, I've voiced this to Kevin, you, we've got this little guy over here who, oh, good, but when is it gonna happen? Cause
Well, I guess
it's a
that's,
safety, it's a big safety issue.
I don't know what-
That
I don't know
pipe
how
is
much-
huge.
I know.
I have a real problem with that. An animal goes in there.
I agree with you. That's the first thing I noticed.
Cause he's,
I don't know how much pressure you guys
Just looking at
put.
it.
Yep.
You know, we had an agreement for it to be done at the end of April. Keep
no,
past it.
November, let's,
Oh.
November
Let's
two
go back,
thousand
yeah.
seventeen.
I'm sorry, well,
Yeah, let's start there.
so my ultimate concern is, and it seems like it's a demo, we just keep kicking the can down the road, you know, and this is just the, again, I know we can't look too far ahead, but it's just the beginning, so. Now, the bridge was supposed to get fixed, supposed to get facaded, that didn't happen over the past, I think that was one of the requirements, the last time, fix the crack, fix the structural crack, facade it, cause I think the facade had to be structural, that didn't happen. There's large amounts of standing water at the beginning of the development.
Pipes are too high.
It's, I don't see an end in sight, which is starting to concern me. And no offense, guys, I'm really sensitive to this. I'm sure as you are of me.
Well, the motivation for the developer to do it right is that they can't sell any other
Which
lots.
I can appreciate it, but he's not in a rush to sell a lot.
It doesn't seem he's very motivated.
Well, he's gotta finish 44, and that's almost finished, and he told me that he was gonna start working in the summer on 2 little lots, but. I don't know, we'll see.
Has GZA seen any of Prime Engineering's reports, their as-built yet? They haven't seen any of that, I'm assuming.
I don't think they would have as-built because it's not done. Pipes are in, but that's not, an as-built,
I know,
we'll
it's
have
super
to show
nuts.
everything, yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that's what, I mean, to me, I don't, what are our options here? I don't understand. I can't keep going on like this in my life where I give him a date and he just tells me to go fly a kite.
And then he reprimands us because we rushed him.
I mean, you guys see the emails, it's not like it's a very cordial environment at the present moment in time, he doesn't really, I called him, I sent him the pictures of the damaged irrigation main and the electrical, shorted out the controller, and I get no response, it's just,
You know, it seems like you're doing a pretty good job keeping them moving, even though it is in slow motion.
yeah, no, I would agree.
We can, at any time, go after the money and complete the job, but I'm not sure that's gonna be helpful to you.
Well, and I also don't feel as though it's gonna be helpful for the rest of the development, because once, I mean, the development still needs a top coat of asphalt, it still needs sidewalks, it still needs
That bridge needs
a
to be
large
fixed.
amount of work.
Mhm.
And to seize bond money to fix a stormwater problem in 2 lots, just seems to me, I wouldn't feel right doing that to the rest of the development.
Well, we could do that, but then something else wouldn't happen,
That's exactly what I'm
that's
getting at.
the issue.
So, I mean, I'm assuming he told you it was gonna be done, that's why he's not here.
Told me it was gonna be done, no need to show up. I took it with a grain of salt.
No, it's like he gets his, he's working on it. He's working on it. It doesn't say how well he's.
I'm at a loss, gentlemen.
How often he's.
Yeah. I don't.
You're a good man, I'll tell you, for what you've been through and,
I
you know,
appreciate
and so
that,
forth.
it's just now, as you can probably tell by tone of my emails, my patience is wearing thin.
Because now we're not even gonna get, our irrigation systems aren't fixed, we can't even put those in to water
then-
the seed,
yeah, the
that's
grasses
gonna
are
go
gonna
down, the
grow.
grass isn't gonna grow.
The grade's gonna be wrong and come November or whatever the case may be, 'cause like I said, it's not slow moving water, and I'm gonna be back here in October in front of you fine gentlemen saying, guess what, I got another 2 feet of water in my backyard again.
Well, I suppose we could demand that the owner come before us at the next meeting,
But it's gonna be done.
but, well.
Well, I mean,
but-
eventually, I mean, it's
but
it
what-
has to happen.
But what carrots and sticks do we have to make sure that it happens? Because just as you're sick of being here telling us what's wrong, we're sick of hearing it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And had the owner been here, then you'd be telling him, not us, and probably not getting any more satisfaction other than
Well-
getting it from the horse's mouth or the other end.
We've never met
The owner.
the owner.
Right.
owner?
We've
Correct.
never met him.
Who is he?
Joe Ferrera.
He's just a veteran.
Oh, from
Yep.
J&J?
Yes,
Mhm.
Oh, he's the new owner?
yes.
That's, J&J is owned by Jim Ferrera.
All right.
Joe Ferrera is the brother.
He's the one with the helicopter.
Yes,
Oh, good luck to you.
that's,
Yeah.
that's my
No,
only
no
concern.
kidding. I just feel bad that you have to keep coming back to us and, because we're not the enemy.
No,
you
No, I know,
I
I
wish you
don't-
could go to conservation every month, but.
I'd love to go to somebody else, I mean,
Right.
no offense to me, I think that's.
I mean, conservation approved this subdivision, not the planning board, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
There were a lot of conservation issues that had to be approved for it to be
Yeah.
approved as a subdivision.
Well, it's a mess.
It is a
And
mess.
It's a shame, somebody buys a brand new home like you people, then have to come to us every month, and nothing's being resolved. I feel bad, I feel like I'm not doing my job.
I mean,
What can we do?
Like I've said
All we
to
do
him-
is sit here and look at you and say, well, we're gonna
So
try to hold
the
his feet to the
town can't do
fire.
any fines or anything
But,
like that.
I would call OSHA. Told you
Yeah,
that
that might
before.
stop, but that might
project.
stop the whole project.
There's nothing there though.
Yeah,
He's
right.
he's already,
But you got that pipe, that little guy over there,
I know,
and animals,
I know.
Yeah.
right? You had that ditch
Well,
over
yeah,
there.
I know.
You had that big
We had
ditch.
that big ditch, I
We
know.
had 14 stumps pulled out of the back.
But again, you're cutting off your nose to
Yeah,
spite your
did you
face.
see all the stumps when they dug out the new?
I saw
pipe?
that, yeah.
There's 15 stumps behind the big pile on 5 that they took out of our backyard.
Hmm.
And the guy thought he had a sewer sewer pipe, and they had buried all those stumps in our backyard, and they said eventually it would've. Yeah, so, welcome to my world. All right,
Yeah, I
well,
feel bad.
thanks. I don't know.
Keep
So you
emails
decide
coming,
next-
Okay.
next meeting.
please, and we're only gonna meet
I'll,
we're only gonna meet once in June, but if you could, copy me and us on progress or lack thereof, then we can.
So you don't know whether Prime Engineering approved anything?
They're not
Because
gonna-
they're held accountable, it was their plan,
They're not
correct?
gonna approve it, they're gonna red lines, they're gonna generate an as-built that's gonna get sent to GTA, and GTA's permits,
Right.
Okay,
so,
all right.
sorry for wasting your time.
Well, have a good night.
It's all right, but again, keep us in the loop.
Yes, sir.
That's the best we can ask for.
Absolutely. Have a good day,
Thank you very
gentlemen.
much.
All right, thanks.
Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, next item on the agenda is, James Seven, is that how you pronounce it?
Seaman.
Seaman, Main Street Solar.
Yes. Oh, here he is.
Hey, Jim.
Hello?
I didn't get any pictures, but I got the laptop, so I can show you guys. I just wanted to know, talk to the board, regarding my property. I was
Your-
down here.
Your property is,
675 Main Street.
Right.
In front of the solar plant.
yep,
And I know I was here at every meeting, just voicing my concerns. And over the past 2.5 years, I've been videotaping and taking pictures of the water runoff, which I was warning them to be careful of. And my worst nightmare is coming true. Every storm, it's been 2.5 years, I've got water running right off the road. They put a berm, which they never finished. I asked them, I went out there when they still had the equipment out there. I asked the other chairwoman, Heidi, to, before they moved the equipment, just kind of build it up a little bit more, because it was already facing down. It never got done. So, since then, I've had just more and more and more water. The last couple storms, I've had that much water in my patio. I've had to replace all my sump pumps because I've been working so hard. I was just wondering who I would go, I'm just asking for advice from the board. Do I go after and talk to Tom Spellman, who's the person that's in charge of the land, or Natalie, who's in Florida? Or do I talk to the power company? Or is this something the town will do? It won't take much. we'll take an excavator, pluck the rocks out of the ground, dump a couple 10 loaders of, 10-wheelers of, fill in there.
Or a swale. with
They put a
kind of-
swale, but it's way up the road where it wasn't even supposed to be.
Well, if they put a swale where it would make a difference and used the fill from the swale and
Yeah.
created a berm on one side, a swale on the other, that would seem
There's
to solve
many,
the problem.
many ways of fixing it.
Right.
But,
You're talking right at the curve?
yes.
Where the berm is and the dead trees,
Yeah, the ones they put up there.
Yeah, they're all dead.
I know that people
Are they
that
all
were,
dead?
all the
About
other people
three
that
are
come to
alive.
the meetings
Uh-huh.
were upset because they were up the other end. And they were concerned about the berm and the pretty trees. I'll plant my own trees, I don't care. I'm just worried about what's, the impact is on my house, my garage, my foundation. Sometimes I got 3/4 of an inch of water on my garage floor. My patio is completely under. I had to put a sump pump out there to pump the water out. It's just, it's only getting worse, you know. And even during the wintertime, it's so prevalent that it actually melts the snow. There's 2 channels that come down and run right, one goes right onto my patio and the other one runs up in my front yard. And floods out the corner of that, of my yard. So again, I'm just wondering who
I think the thing we probably should do is request that the developers come before the board at the next meeting and point out these issues and tell them what we want. I would hope that they would be good neighbors and take care of it, because as you said, it's not an expensive fix. If they aren't, well, we would have to speak with our attorney and find out what recourse we had. But the first thing we need to do is have them come before the board and find out
Yeah.
what
I
they will
have-
do about
if
it.
anybody
The
wants to-
plan should show the height of the proposed berm, I would seem to think.
It's actually sunk probably 18 inches since they put it
Really?
in. Yes.
That's all that's left of it?
I get pictures of the video when they, pictures of when the rocks, they set them.
Yeah, I was out there this afternoon, it was hard to tell with,
Because the grass is growing.
where the grasses were all, I didn't know how high the berm was. I knew there was supposed to be one there. The only thing I noticed was all the dead trees.
Right, and then the biggest thing was, it was supposed to complete that turn. Now, I know Tom Spellman had put his input in, had changed the angle of that, which, again, I didn't care.
Yeah.
As long as the water condition was taken care of, I don't care if it's an S, a Z, or an L, it doesn't matter to me. It's somebody
Mhm.
else's property, I don't really care. I mean, solar farm is a perfect neighbor as far as I'm concerned, because they don't make any noise and they're just way out there.
Yeah.
Better than a subdivision.
Yeah, exactly.
I would agree with that, Chairman, because if he comes in and doesn't wanna do the right thing,
Yeah.
then we can get him on stormwater violations probably for,
So let's do that, next meeting,
Okay.
we'll keep you posted.
Don't have a date
As
yet.
to, we don't have a date yet, but we'll keep you posted as to what we're going to do and when we're gonna do it.
I appreciate
And I
it.
think that what we are going to do, what I expect is that we'll request the developers to come before this board next meeting, and when we're gonna do it, next meeting.
I mean, I've been so upset, and my wife thinks I'm crazy, but it's my
I don't blame you,
property.
you don't want water in
And
your basement,
I said, you know what, I'm just gonna rent the machine, but I can't do it because it's not my property.
it's not your property, right?
So, I mean, I'm sure I could talk to Tom Spellman. He said he was gonna fix it at one time, because I complained to him a few times, nothing did. So, you know.
Is that's
yeah.
up and running now, right?
You know, I really
Yes.
don't know.
Yes,
Yeah, it's on.
you have no idea, it doesn't
No,
make
it's
noise.
way,
Yeah.
you know.
But we gave them a certificate of substantial completion. And before we even issued the certificate, they had intertied and were producing electricity.
Again,
we were holding that back and we ended up, we finally had to.
Yeah. No, I mean, I keep an eye on the land, you know, whenever they unlock the gates, I go over and tell them to lock the gates. It's not my property, but it does affect me. That's at least my worry. My worry is what it's doing to the sill in my garage and rotting all everything.
What about the trees that are dead? I mean,
Well, at the same time, we can ask for more trees, cause that's a little more of a gray area. We asked them for trees, they planted them according to the special permit. but I don't know that the special permit said if they die, you gotta plant new ones.
One of GZA's comments, addressed that they would have to, replace trees, but that were dead from whatever reason.
And I don't know if we got an agreement in
I don't know if we
writing.
can enforce that.
It may help in deterring the water from right now, them trees are dead, so it's just a mound of dust.
Right.
So water just comes through, hits that, goes underneath it.
Yeah, if they were
continues
trees
on
with
to mountain.
roots, there would be some
Exactly.
absorption.
As far as the aesthetics, doesn't bother me, I agree.
Maybe,
Put Jersey barriers up there and I'd be happy.
maybe we can get it to move the, now, let me talk about the gate for a minute.
Mhm.
Tom Spellman wants that gate moved up to that, I think the first curve, which would bring people up
Yes.
to that bend. I don't know how you feel about that, but he did speak with the previous owner or developer, and they were gonna do that.
I know I got them on the side and said I don't like it.
You don't like it where it is?
No, I don't like it with that, because
Ooh.
again, there is a lot of traffic going in and out of there. You know, I got a wife and kids and have a lot of possessions in my driveway and my house that, you know, I get nervous and just like any homeowner would be.
Well, the reality is, if they wanted to move it, they'd have to come before the board, because the permit does not specify that it be back there, it specifies that it be where it is.
It's a
Why would they
perfect
wanna
depth right
move
now.
it anyway?
The Spellman wanted to move it because he thought he could get a Form A lot out of it.
He
by
wants to
being
access
somewhere
that
else.
property that says over there.
Maybe he could get a retreat lot, I don't know, but it seemed like it was all wetlands. To the west of the road is all wet.
It's all went out there.
Mm.
Yeah, I like it where it is, the reason being is, it's just the right depth where they can pull their average piece of equipment in, unlock the gate, get inside.
Right.
And go do what they gotta do.
Yeah,
Put
you
it
don't
further
want-
up, you're gonna have people.
You're gonna have teenagers and who knows. who
Drinking
else.
beer, throwing cans out the window.
So, that would be a fight for another day.
Well, it won't be a fight because it will not be
Yeah.
allowed by this board,
Yeah.
or at least I would expect by this
But
board.
again,
because-
gentlemen's late, I just came here on desperation, I've been.
No, you came to the right
sucking it in
place.
for 2.5 years
You
now,
came to
I'm
the
like,
right
I gotta do
place.
something.
And I'm sorry that it wasn't taken care of in the first place.
If you want, I tried to print out the things at CVS and I had, the coordinating accept.
Are they, can you email them to Kerry?
They're very high.
High,
Yeah,
what,
they're like
6?
8 megs a piece.
Well, email them one at a time.
I could do that, yeah,
Yeah.
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because I know that you emailed 2 and they bounce back,
Yeah.
but 1 probably.
Yeah, no, I'll do that,
And-
later on tonight.
And if they bounce back 1 at a time, I think you can compress them somehow.
Yeah, I might be able to. But yeah, I think I counted like 12, and there's a video of me walking through the yard and the sound of the water.
Squishing.
Yeah,
All right,
down by
well-
private lake, and, I kayak out to my garage, But I don't wanna take up any more of your
All right,
time.
thank you very much. Appreciate your patience.
They didn't charge you any extra for having the
The
garage?
waterfront? All right, everybody have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a minor modification to deed and plan for Wellington Acres. And what that was, is it was retreat lots that the owners wanted to have some language that wasn't specifically no further development, but that was revised so that it could be donated to the town, or words to that effect. And the deed was revised to our town council, our planning board council's satisfaction, and to mine as well.
Hi, good evening, John Zajac, 190 Winthrop Street, talking for Wellington Acres. And I was as you know, I was the person who was dealing with the planning board's council to
Mhm.
work on some language that was mutually acceptable, for exactly what you said, that we were seeking to keep open at least the possibility that we'd be able to donate some of the land that's presently part of the retreat lots to the town. It abuts another 75 acres, owned by the same company, and which is all part of the Wellington Acres subdivision. And not knowing what the future holds, but knowing that we're not gonna develop that land, we want to at least keep the possibility open that it might be donated to the town. It does have, some access to it. Certainly there's precedent that the Lopes family has donated other land to the town in the past, and just didn't wanna tie our hands by doing that. It's something that I don't think was, that I'm sure wasn't discussed at the first meeting in December when the retreat lots were approved, and a meeting that I did not attend. It's just something that came up in discussion after that happened and in the process of actually physically drafting the deeds, to go forward. So, we're hoping that the board, would consider the modified language that we've, discussed with the board's counsel, so that those options at least will remain open and hopefully be exercised someday, if it's in the town's best interest, which ultimately this board would have the ability to decide in the future.
Was it only one of the lots that was being considered?
No, actually both. Actually
Both lots.
Right, both.
Wouldn't, I don't know, you would know as an attorney, wouldn't there be two recordings, one for each lot?
Yes, there would be. I did send two separate deeds to Attorney Tolliver.
Okay. So what I'm reading is just a sample,
Yes.
one for each lot?
Exactly.
Okay. Should it say it's gonna be donated to the town?
I've got the exact language here that we had discussed.
Okay.
It's,
Well, oh yeah, let's see, I could accept the following, that's what I'm reading, it's on your
I
email.
probably cut and pasted that right into the deed.
Oh, okay.
But I can tell you the exact language that I have, that I've been working off of based on my communications with him.
Okay.
It says pursuant to the restrictions contained in the decision of the Dayton Planning Board dated December 27, 2017, and recorded with the Bristol County Registry of Deeds at book page left blank because it's not recorded yet. Said lot 28R, and again, also 27R, shall not be further subdivided, provided that, subject to the approval by the Town of Dayton Planning Board, this restriction may be amended, and the lot may be subdivided only to allow for the combining of other parcels for land conservation purposes and to enhance open space. This restriction shall run in perpetuity and be enforceable by the Town of Dayton.
Works for me. I don't foresee this happening often in terms of retreat lots, but the fact that we're able to be flexible is a good thing.
And I think you're right. I mean, it is perhaps an unusual situation, maybe not unique, but at least unusual, that there's also an abutting 75 acres that is at least potentially something that might be donated to the town in the future.
Kind of a silly question, but you will leave enough of the original lot to meet the requirements of our
Yes,
retreat lot?
we would.
Square
That-
footage and so forth, okay.
Exactly, and the planning board would still have to sign off if we did
Right.
propose to donate some of it.
Okay.
If you wanted to donate 3 acres and it only left 5 acres, we deny it because it
Right.
doesn't meet the requirement for retreat lots, for
Right.
example.
Right, okay. I'm okay with it.
Motions, any motion?
Well, we gotta figure it out first.
Accept the language regarding lot 28R.
Yes, yeah, the amended deed for lot 28R and 27R, is that what it is?
Yeah, I believe it's 27.
It might be 28, 29.
Is there gonna be any public discussion?
Oh, sure.
Excuse me, gentlemen, I'm not intimately familiar with all the details here, but I'm a little curious, because first and foremost, if the land's donated, it takes it off the tax rolls, which can have a negative impact to the town. But, and then there's, is there some reason that the property is viewed as not marketable by the individual considering donating it to the town? Is there some circumstance that make it unsuitable for
development of some sort going forward?
Well, it is already unsuitable for further development because the retreat lots, as the bylaw states, cannot be further subdivided. What this revision to the deed restriction allows for is that some of that land could be subdivided and donated to the town. If, for instance, I don't know what the size of the lot, just off the top of my head, if each lot is 12 acres, our town requirement is 8 acres. If they gave each lot a haircut and took 4 acres from, is that my math right? 4 acres from this one and 4 acres from that one, and donated it to the town, for whatever reason, it would not come off the rolls of the tax rolls, because those 2 lots still exist as taxable properties. So, for instance, if the 75 acres in the back were something that the town wanted to put a new high school in, and I'm just making this stuff up, but just to make a point. But if the town wanted to make a new high school, and those 2 4-acre pieces off of the retreat lots were something that was good for the town as it relates to the schools, then they could, with this language, those 8 acres could be added to the 75 acres for whatever reason, but would have no impact on the taxability of the lots as they exist.
Okay, so I see, this is an option. to be
Yes, it's an
included in the
option.
agreement.
It doesn't change anything on the tax rolls. In fact, if the,
Well, I heard the 75 acres, and I go, seems like a fairly sizable chunk.
Yeah,
that we-
well-
Even if it was wooded lot and it paid some taxes.
I guess
It would go
the,
away and.
if the owner of the 75 acres wanted to create a conservation subdivision that would require X amount of open space, the 8 acres, again, just notionally, because we're talking about a 12 versus 8, the 8 acres, if they needed to add those 8 acres to the 75 acres to make the numbers work for a conservation subdivision, well, then it would be up to this board, whoever this board is at the time that were, that was an application, it would be up to this board to say, no, you can't do that. These acres are here, those acres are there, that is not what is in mind of this, so.
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry, I.
No, that's all
sort of
right.
made me go
No,
around the
I'm-
barn to
I'm
explain
kinda-
that. And one other question.
I'm thinking it through, I'm talking as I'm thinking it through, but I think by talking it through as I'm thinking it, your question has reinforced that this is a fairly benign situation.
Okay, I had one other question. I think I heard in the language they talked about possible, I guess the option of donating to the Conservation Commission of the town, or the town in some other respect, and for somewhat professionally selfish reasons, because of my association with Parks and Recreation, could the terminology be included that it could be donated to the Parks and Recs for Parks and Recreation? Or would that be something that would fall under conservation land or some other purpose? Or is that a bridge that we would cross?
That might be
later?
too specific, and it would be a bridge that we would cross. If
Later.
the owners came before the board and wanted to donate it for whatever reason, at that point, Parks and Recreation could weigh in as to whether it was
Okay.
something that Parks and Rec could.
Sorry to take it on that
No, that's
slightly
okay.
silly
No, that's
path.
all right.
Yeah.
No,
I'm just
I
kidding.
appreciate it, because,
Yeah.
without having a lot of people thinking of all the angles, you don't think of all the angles.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So now we make a motion.
Mm-hmm.
Again?
Yeah, well, we
Want me to read
forgot
that?
about public comment, so we should
Okay.
reintroduce the motion.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion here to amend the deeds dated December 27, 2017, regarding two retreat lots. Lot 28R, and what's the other one, John?
29.
29R. I lost my train of thought, where am I at? Read to me what I said.
Motion to accept the amended deed language for the deeds dated December 27, 2017 for lots 28R and 29R.
As agreed to by, town planning board council.
Any seconds?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So, there was a previous decision that was already, which was subject to public notice,
Mhm.
and the appeals period lapsed, and I have a certified copy of that from the town clerk. I know you've already signed the Mylar for the plan that's was being held until we got through this deed language. Do I need to now get a certified copy of the amendment or today's vote, or do I can just go forward with the Mylar and?
I spoke to the attorney today, asking him if there was another appeal period, and he said no, because
Right.
this was a minor modification.
Administrative matter.
Administrative matter, that it's not required to wait for an appeal period, and that we can just move forward
Okay.
with the new deed and move forward with the recording.
Okay, so do I need to record a copy of this decision, or just the old decision with the Mylar?
It would be recorded with the decision, the new deeds, and the Mylar. He didn't mention anything about
Well,
the
is
decision.
is the deed restriction on the Mylar, or is it just in the deed?
It's just in the deed.
Then you're okay.
We're not changing the
If
Mylar
if
right
the
now.
Mylar said shall not further be subdivided, then you'd have to create a new Mylar.
They don't know
But it
what's
doesn't
gonna
say
be.
that, so you're all set.
Okay. Right.
Okay, so you need the Mylar?
Yes.
Yes, that would be helpful.
Hi, Joe.
Oh, I am.
Good, how are you?
How you doing, Joe?
Watching me.
Fine, pile that. Once you get that recorded, I just need you to bring me the recording, documents, if you can bring like an extra copy of the deed,
Sure.
so that we can have
Absolutely.
the actual deed, signed deed, and the recording information. We'll be all set. There you go.
Thank
It's
you
all right,
all very
that's not
much.
very.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Well,
And no new date for Cedar Estate.
Okay, so the next item on the
No,
agenda is retreat lot peer review proposal, and GZA says that they'll review retreat lots for about $500 a pop. Now, it seems expensive, but when we go back to the retreat lot that we just reviewed, or we discussed, we didn't review it, had we had an engineer look at the plans from an engineering perspective, they might have found things that we didn't have the expertise to find. So does it make sense to pay $500? Our application fee is $1,000, so the town would net $500 in terms of money, but if we paid the $500, the town would net the expertise that we might not otherwise have. So that is the question.
I pondered that a little bit myself, and I came to the conclusion that we probably, in the fall meeting, should amend our bylaws and charge a $500 retreat lot review fee.
You're probably right.
That's my opinion.
On top of the $1,000?
Top of the $1,000, yeah.
That's a very good idea.
That way there, we
That way there,
It may be less, which we could always refund.
yeah,
You know, if it's a $300 job, we'll give them 200 back, but we should
Yeah.
charge 500, I think, for.
so it would be as similar as the peer review
No,
consulting with the subdivision.
The question is,
Makes
what is
sense.
is he do an on-site visit, for that $500 or
No.
just?
No, he just reviews the plans.
Plus the federal mileage rate, if you read his,
Oh,
I
that's
don't-
right, I read that.
I don't, my opinion, I don't think we need a site review, cause I can't imagine there being more than 2 retreat lots on a piece of property.
Right.
And I think we're smart enough to do a site review ourselves.
Yeah,
So, that's my opinion.
yeah, I think you're right. If we, would we have to go we have to put it before the town?
I think we can double check that, and we got
Yeah,
time.
it would be nice if we could just make it an administrative decision. like
Yeah,
a-
see,
Like a
we can-
regulation, but.
We can do that in
we'll
the
have to-
Board of Health, we can set fees without
Yeah.
town
Can the-
meeting
can the-
approval.
Can the Board of Health set an administrative fee for retreat lots? As part of their review?
Well, we can find out about that.
Yeah, well, yeah,
I
that-
think the fees are in our green booklet though, so.
Alright. So do we have to make a motion, or can we just,
We can table it until we find
Well-
out more information.
or let's make a motion to find out more information? Oh, we can table it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I think we will make a motion to have Kerry find out more.
Okay.
There you go.
Done.
So you want me to find out
Find out
issuing
if
the
we,
administrative fees?
if we need
If
to
it's a
go before,
bylaw change.
if it's a bylaw change, or if it's just a regulatory change, or administrative change, or it's just a question to an attorney,
Okay.
really.
Yeah.
Change.
All right, so,
So I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so notice of withdrawal for Strawberry Fields Estates. Now, Strawberry Fields wanted us to accept their withdrawal without prejudice, which is a fancy way of saying, I don't know, because,
They insisted on the vote.
well, no, we insisted on an official vote. But we can vote to accept their withdrawal with or without prejudice, but according to our attorney, there's no such thing as with or without prejudice. So it makes sense to me that we just make a vote to accept their withdrawal, and that's it.
Period.
Period, exactly. We don't have to sign anything, they're making a withdrawal, and if we denied their withdrawal, does that mean they'd have to come before the board and go through the motions? It seems silly to me, so I don't even know why we have to make a motion for their withdrawal. They are withdrawing, and that is that, but we can make a motion to accept the withdrawal and be done with it.
But the 1-year appeal period would,
Once we denied them, they have a 1-year
Regardless.
cooling off period before they can apply for a Chapter 40B project.
okay, and that's what they were trying to avoid.
That
Could they
seems-
come back with another subdivision plan?
Sure they could.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to.
Right.
But not within a year.
No, they can do that anytime. They can do it tomorrow.
Just the 40B,
Right.
they can?
They can
For
come.
40B, they gotta wait a year.
They have to wait a
Yeah,
year.
They have to wait a year from their withdrawal, which would be May 7th, 2019. They can go before the ZBA.
Well, I'll make a motion to accept the withdrawal request by Strawberry Fields Estates dated May 7th, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item
I
is,
do, I'm sorry, I have one question. So, in the, email from council, he stated that said there's no need to do except vote to accept the withdrawal and reduce the vote to a